we were never going to attack them. It simply wasn't part of our plans, although by now, probably should have been. How could you ever convince them of that? Why would they be afraid of us, after everything? No matter how hard we tried, this schism only seems to get deeper. And now, it's been pushed too far. Reality's crashing down on the world once again, and nothing will ever be the same again. Please, let this be a bad dream.
Want to help support the channel? Head over to patreon.com/Karmakut where you can get rewards for backing me. Hello everyone, so today we're going to talk about what Escalation 1985 is. So what is it? It's a Cold War mechanized infantry platoon level first person shooter. They plan on having it 50 versus 50 and it's going to be extremely historically accurate. So it's kind of comparable to Squad, but it's not exactly Squad, and we'll go into what sets it apart later in the video. So, first things first, they plan on having it being very historically accurate with the weapons, the interiors, the squad layouts, the maps. Everything needs to be very historically accurate. So it's going to be a very historical FPS. But they are still going to plan on looking at gameplay and making sure gameplay balance is the same, is balanced, is fluid. So it's very important to them that gameplay is not, put at a loss just for historical accuracy. So, going more into the gameplay, it's going to be focused on tanks and APCs because it is mechanized infantry focused. And one cool thing about this is that all the vehicle interiors are complete. They're detailed, they're modeled, there's flips and switches. They don't want it to be a complete simulator of vehicles and like tanks and stuff like that, but they want it to be simplified. But you will have that kind of interior detailed view, and I think that adds a lot to the immersion. One thing that they are having is air assets. Now, initially, these air assets are going to be controlled by AI, but if possible, they want to have player-controlled air assets like helicopters and A-10s. And just like the tanks and APCs, those will have interior design as well, and they will have them modeled and all the bells and whistles as well. Once again, they don't want it to be a complete sim, but they want it to be pretty immersive. Moving on from that, it's set on the western and eastern border of the Iron Curtain, so in Germany. So there's going to be 4 factions at start. There's going to be the US mechanized infantry and versus the Soviet army, and then West Germany fighting for NATO and East Germany for the Warsaw Pact. So they plan on having more factions later in launch if possible. Of course, this is really early in development, so everything's subject to change. They might add things, remove things, change things. But this is their current design and what they're walking into development with, and their plan of the scope of the game. They do plan on having buildable entrenchments, buildable spawn points, as well as mobile spawn points. And what mobile spawn points are is, a command vehicle where it has to be stationary and you can spawn on the move. So, what sets Escalation 1985 apart from Squad and makes it, not just a Squad reskin? Well, one really cool thing that Escalation 1985 has, and they have quite a bit of emphasis on, is the commander role and the nuclear and chemical warheads that the commander can call in. And these warheads, obviously, there's 2 main reasons why you'd want to call these in. One for massive casualties, or for area denial. So they plan on having a lot of off-map assets that can, do a lot of damage. Because of these, kind of off-map assets, the maps at start minimum are going to be 4x4 clicks, but the target is to have 8x8 click maps, and these maps are going to be huge. Like 8x8 clicks is a huge territory. They do also plan on having smaller skirmish maps, so don't worry, if you want the smaller maps, they will have some. In addition to nukes and chemical warheads, they will have off-map artillery that the commander can call in. He has to work with, forward observers to call in the off-map arty. But a cool thing that the off-map arty will do is it will shell shock players. There will be a psychological debuff, or at least they plan to have a psychological debuff with that arty. We'll see how that develops and what that actually looks like further on into development, or if they complete it. But in addition to that, what also sets Escalation 1985 apart is they plan on having a dynamic multiplayer campaign. Kind of like Red Orchestra 2, if any of you have played that, where you play a map, and then, attackers, defenders, you pick the map, the next map, and you kind of play across a larger scale of battles. But in addition to just checking the map, the dynamic campaign in Escalation 1985 will also allow you to pick the assets you're going into that map as well. So it's very dynamic. You'll have a lot of control over, where you're going to in the next map and what you're taking with you. So I think that will go a lot into the replayability and make this game really fun to play over and over and over again. Another thing that sets Escalation 1985 apart is the morale system. So there's going to be a morale system in Escalation 1985 where essentially you'll have buffs when you're with other players, like suppression, accuracy buffs, stamina buffs. They don't plan on punishing players for lone wolfing. They just want to give benefits to those that work together. So you will still be able to lone wolf if you want, but if you play as a team and you play together and you work together, you will have those buffs. So it's kind of like Rising Storm Vietnam, where you have, suppression buffs if you stick next to each other and stuff like that, but it won't be as punishing. Another cool thing that they're doing is something like Day of Infamy, where there's no squad comms. You have proximity chat and you have radio comms, and in order to use the radio comms, you must have a radio man. So it's going to be really interesting to see how strategies change as, players lose communication with each other, to regain that communication with each other, talk to each other, and figure out the next plan. Or figure out, what happens when you lose comms with, the team that's on the other side of the map. It's going to be really interesting. I think that's a really cool, way to add more pressure onto the players to work together and use that radio system. They have a couple game modes planned. We'll talk about a few of them here. One that we want to talk about is Sabotage, which is kind of a search and destroy objective destruction-based game mode. And another planned game mode is called Breakthrough, which is an armored vehicle-focused attack and defense, kind of like Invasion. So I imagine you'll see like huge armor battles fighting over a point, and then, one team is attacking, one team is defending, and they get pushed back and back and back. So that'll be really interesting to see, because I really want kind of an armored game, like kind of like War Tanks, but like immersive and realistic with infantry. So we'll see how big they're able to scale these massive vehicle conflicts. A couple maps that they're working on. They're currently working on Folded Gap, which includes Point Alpha, which is a military base. So it's going to be a very military base-esque map. And then they're also working on Folded Village, which is a more rural, foresty kind of map. And it's got more of a natural feel to it. A couple urban maps they're working on. One of the urban maps they're working on is Checkpoint Charlie in Berlin. And obviously it's in Berlin, so it's going to be, very urban, very CQB focused. You're going to have corners, you're going to have alleys, stuff like that. And, Checkpoint Charlie was one of the main crossing points between West and East Germany. So that'll be really cool. And of course they plan on having things, very historically accurate. So we'll see how close they can get to the real scale of that area. These are just 3 maps that we're talking about right now, but they do plan on having about 8 to 10 maps on launch. And that's pretty much some of the information that I have currently on Escalation 1985. Once again, a lot of this stuff is very early in development. So things are subject to change, add, removal. We're very early in the process, but there's a lot of stuff that they want to add that makes this game pretty unique from Squad. So it's not just, a Squad reskin like the nukes or, the morale system or the dynamic multiplayer. But yeah, gameplay footage is going to be released sometime this year. And then they plan on having the pre-release version where players can actually play it like early access in 2018. So not too far off, actually. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will be covering this game more on my channel as I get more information. And as the game continues development, you'll get more and more updates on what they're working on and cool features, cool progress and anything like that. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. And if you'd like to check out Escalation 1985, go ahead and check it out. In the description below, I'll leave a link to their website. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching the video, and don't forget to check out Humble Monthly for over $100 worth of games every month for just $12. You'll also get 10% off their entire store, fund a charity, and support this channel all at the same time. Check it out in the description below.